The LG Procast is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views or opinions expressed by the podcast hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the official position of LG. For the latest and most accurate information about LG products, please consult relevant product manuals and related documentation.
Welcome to the LG Procast. I'm your co-host, Terry Phillip, and with me today,
Philip Craigbaum, and we are at Meier Supply up in Conklin, New York today.
Super. Who we got with us?
We got Ryan Strong. Ryan, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about Paupack Heating and Air Conditioning?
Absolutely. We've been in business since 1937. My great-grandfather started by selling coal, and then we moved to fuel oil, and now we're doing strictly HVAC.
Strictly HVAC.
And plumbing.
So here's a 4th-generation HVAC contractor in the country, and we got a young guy that's doing something different.
Yeah.
Right? And he's applying inverter-driven technology.
Yep.
That's awesome, Ryan.
Absolutely.
So listen, I know we filmed some stuff with you, your social media presence. I know I follow you. I'm always commenting on the stuff that you put on social media. You do a lot to promote the LG brand and the application of the technology. What made you decide that this is a direction you wanted to go as a contractor?
We've been working with LG for over 15 years. So we've only been involved with LG over the past 5. We've really started focusing on it. It's the way the industry's going. There's no doubt about that. And the inverter technology, and I just feel LG's got the most experience with it and is most motivated to keep expanding into it.
Well, it certainly doesn't hurt when you have a supply partner like Meier Supply, right?
There's no doubt that's been a huge reason we've buckled down on it. It's the support from Meier and from LG, but the support from Meier has been
we see
a
that
driving force.
It
Absolutely.
takes this local support.
It
if we don't
absolutely
have it, it doesn't matter the brand, right? So
Absolutely
the
right.
right partners get the work
Absolutely.
done. So
Yeah. You made a comment there about innovation and moving forward, and I know we were just talking before we got started about the air-to-water heat pump that you guys have embraced pretty early as we released that just a couple of months ago. So how many have you put in, and what's your experience been like?
We just got our first one started up recently about a month ago. So that's as far as I know, it's one of the first in the country. They've been overseas for a bit. It was a great experience. There was some learning curves, obviously, just like there is with anything new. But the experience was great, and the homeowners thrilled.
So tell me like I don't know anything about it, because
I don't.
I'm a Southern boy and I really don't. Right. So, and for the people that are hanging out, listening, and talking, what, in your words, what is an air-to-water heat pump? What are the benefits of it? What kind of application did you put it in?
So an air-to-water heat pump absorbs heat from the atmosphere during the winter and transfers it to water, which then transfers it to a boiler system of sorts. So they're replacing boilers. So we replaced an oil-fired boiler with the Monobloc system, with LG's Monobloc system. Using glycol, and like I said, a transfer to water.
So you, in essence, you utilize existing baseboards heaters in the home, and then you just removed an old oil-fired burner, piped in new to the new Monobloc system or to the air-to-water heat pump, and then now you got a new medium to make the heat.
Absolutely. We've got a backup boiler in there for when the temperature gets lower. We've got to boost that water temperature a little bit, and there's some extra controls built in to transfer between the two boilers, or between Monobloc and the other boiler. Monobloc stays on through the whole process, though. I mean, that's taking the workload no matter what, and it should be the most efficient way of heating the home.
Yeah, that's where you're going to get a lot of your efficiency there.
Absolutely.
Just using the Monobloc. Because, again, being born and raised in the HVAC business in the South, we don't do a lot of boilers, obviously.
There's no boilers down there.
Right.
Imagine.
We did do some water-based cooling, fan coil stuff. Like that's been around for a while. So can you use the fan coils for cooling for the system as well?
Absolutely. It didn't really apply to this situation. They aren't overly interested in cooling, to be honest, this homeowner. But it absolutely could have been utilized.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in my understanding, we can take our Monobloc system, heat in the winter, flip a valve, and cool with it in the summer, so you get the benefits of both. And being a Southern guy, one of the things that really interests me is the level of dehumidification that we can achieve, because we have the potential to slow the air down nearly as slow as we want it to go. And if the water temperature is never below 32, we're not going to freeze that coil, and we can get phenomenal dehumidification. So kind of excited about some opportunities in the South for this
So what you're saying
product.
is it's not just a northern market product
Absolutely.
only, right? Kind of like the misconcept for heat pumps in general, right? With new cold climate heat pumps, obviously the whole northeast quadrant of our country and across the northwest, and traditionally cold climates are now learning about cold climate heat pump performance.
Right.
So here's another tool
Absolutely.
for that group.
And the versatility of it is incredible. I mean, I'm quoting a house right now where they want radiant heat in the house, but also obviously want cooling. Every house wants cooling.
Sure.
So that solves both the problems.
Best of both
Obviously,
worlds.
standard heat pump, you never could have done radiant heat. So we'd be looking at two totally different systems.
Gotcha. That's got to be some money saved right there, right?
Absolutely, and the fact you're not bringing fuel in a whole different system and entirely, it's all packaged into one, and the efficiency of it is through the roof.
So I know there's a lot of talk around the country about incentives and rebates and all different forms of money to help people make the switch or make the change. Are there some incentives in your market that are helping consumers make that, or is it just this is a good product or a good application and you're confident in what you're doing and you're promoting it that way?
The latter. We have a small rebate available for ductless systems and ducted systems, but the Monobloc is so new they don't have any rebates available for it yet. And in PA, even the rebates for the systems that have been out for a while aren't substantial enough. I don't think it's a driving.
So that's not
force.
making them switch. No, it's the application and your expertise in the application. Yeah. So, and obviously a product that can do it. That's
Absolutely.
kind of important, right?
Absolutely, and our sales are so relationship based. There are a lot of long-term customers that have been with us for a long time, mostly second homes. So there's a lot of trust already there. So really, I'm blessed to be in that position where whatever I say is kind of what they wind up doing.
So awesome. I'm still back to the fourth generation, and I travel our country and I meet a lot of air conditioning contractors, and this was my grandfather's business, and it was my dad's business, and now it's my business, and we do the same way my grandpa did them, right? and so it's I got to tell you, it's refreshing, when I run across a young guy and he says, you know what, Grandpa made a good living, he did what was relevant, and Dad did a good thing, what was relevant, and now here I am, I'm a youngster, and I'm going to do what's relevant, right? And I'm going to take the best technologies, I'm going to apply them correctly,
Yep.
and I'm going to have something that
I
that's
think,
mine. I'm put my name on it.
Right. If you can't adapt to change, like we were saying before, I think this is the wrong industry to be in. This industry changes daily. Let alone over the course of however many 80 some odd years that is. Being able to adapt.
I know. Off course, we were talking about the change with 32 coming up and that creating all the buzz and talk in our industry, and then you and I were talking about really when we went from 22 to 410A, it was more involved.
So
right?
much more involved.
And this is just another blip.
We've been through it before. Yeah, it's so low on my scale of concerns. Honestly, I think it's a good thing for the industry.
Yeah, well, we had Dr. Allgood on here on the podcast, and Dr. Allgood, one of the comments he made about the 32 flammability spread was you can walk faster than the flame spreads. That just keeps sticking because I'm old and I walk slow, and I'm like, good, I can outwalk it. So I'm happy about that.
And we deal with propane and so many other dangerous factors in the industry. I mean, the pressures of refrigerant to me are a bigger concern than the mild flammability of it. If you're dealing with the pressures of 410, the high pressures of 410, that like I said, to me is a bigger safety concern than mild flammability.
Right, and then really, I mean, after that initial scare when we went from 22 to 410A and everyone got the proper tools and learned to work with those higher pressures, it was, I wouldn't call it foolproof by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly people respected it, and I don't recall seeing people or reading about people getting hurt and injured from the pressures of.
I mean, back to the air-to-water heat pump, though, it actually alleviates some of those concerns, although they're minor. I'm not concerned about the pressures or the flammability, really. But now it takes all of that and leaves it outside the house.
The Monobloc is packaged.
Right.
In a self-contained unit, right?
So with the Monobloc style, yeah.
And so then help me understand, for those that don't, because I'm one of them, all I'm doing is piping water or a solution of water and some chemical to keep it from freezing into the home.
Right.
Into these fan coils or baseboard heaters or whatever we're using for that medium.
Yep, we use an indirect water heater as a heat transfer tank to transfer some glycol to domestic or to water, to then heat the home with strictly water, just because the heat transfer is better, and we prefer not use glycol as much as we possibly
So you
can.
don't send the glycol through the baseboards or the.
Or the circulators and everything like that, and
gotcha.
all the other mechanical
Okay.
parts of it. Yep. It just helps save the other parts of the
Yeah.
boiler system.
My understanding is we can send it through a water tank and make potable hot water with it too.
And we do. There's a couple of heat transfers going on. It goes from the glycol through that indirect into the boiler water, and then we actually have an indirect water heater as well. That's one of the zones.
Interesting.
Phenomenal.
I know applying heat pump technology in some markets, and I'll give you an example for some jobs I've done. That they wanted the bathroom floors to be radiant in these nice custom homes, but they wanted instant heat from a heat pump.
We've got a bunch of houses like that.
So so what a great application, because I guess if I lived somewhere where it was really cold, it'd be nice if my feet were touching warm floors. Towel racks, I understand that's some of the stuff you can do with it, right? Heated towel racks and things like
Absolutely.
that. So
Absolutely.
that's pretty cool stuff.
We've got, and that's extremely common. We've got a lot of the houses for the past several years that had air systems that wanted the heated floors in the bathrooms, and they've got electric heat mats in the bathrooms instead. And I mean, you take all that, you do all that for efficiency, and then you put electric heat mats in the
Right.
bathroom. It's kind of productive.
Kind of going backwards the other
That
way.
goes back to our comment about on comes the toaster for heat, right? So, yeah. So
Exactly.
we plug in a toaster and here it comes.
Yeah.
Have some heat. That's an interesting concept. So tell me a little bit more about your involvement with LG Electronics. What else are you using besides air to water from a product standpoint?
We've been putting your guys' ductless in for, like I said, for over 15 years.
Okay.
So we've got a ton of ductless experience with LG. I would say 40% of the unitary system replacements that we're doing at this point are LG, the vertical air handlers.
So taking out a traditional, like everybody knows the brands in America, and replacing it with an LG branded system, outdoor cold climate heat pump and indoor air handler.
Right.
In and out, swap out, just like a conventional, right?
Right.
Can be done, changed out in a day, right?
Absolutely, with the electric backup, for those crazy cold nights.
So
And we're pulling
set-
out oil furnaces.
Yeah.
I'm assuming natural gas furnaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
most of the
going
swap
back
outs we're
with
doing
all
are the
electric.
old style heat pump, the old 14 SEER heat pumps. We have a large resort that we deal with, and all their systems are
Right.
13, 14 SEER
So
heat pumps.
I feel like there's some guys that, okay, yeah, you could swap out a heat pump for a heat pump, but that's only a piece of it, right?
It's
'Cause
only a piece.
we're
Absolutely.
pulling out gas-fired stuff and oil-fired
and
stuff.
we've done that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of jobs like that, or especially oil.
Yeah.
Because if you're making a change, you might as well get
I
ahead.
don't know anybody that's signing up for an oil furnace anymore.
The
that
amount
wants
of-
one.
the amount of times we swap oil for oil are like 10% of the time at this point. It's
that would even seem high to me, just from what I.
Yeah, we're still doing it. Well, it's because our customer base comes from an oil customer base, because going back 15 years, that's most of what we did.
Sure.
Was sell oil.
Yeah.
So that's where most of
Your
our customer
family
base-
business.
right? So that's
Right.
where most of the customer base comes from is oil.
And your business has evolved as technology has evolved, and
Right.
realized that oil is kind of a thing of the past, mostly. And so now you guys have done a very nice job of evolving with the technology.
I know we're in the dead of summer, but in this market, what does a tank of fuel oil cost a consumer to be delivered, and how many times does that have to be delivered in the winter? Depends on tank size and cold, blah blah blah. But
It does, and I am not up to date on that info. So we sold the oil business in August, but that was my father's main involvement, was the oil side of things. I never took a major interest in it because I always felt it was on its way out.
good for you.
Saw that one coming.
I mean, it was on its way out, out of that and into propane when I started,
Right.
14 years ago. So even then, when heat pumps weren't the major focus, when inverter heat pumps weren't the major focus, it was still on its way out, in my opinion. We were still swapping out oil for propane.
Yeah.
So I mean, somewhere, let's say $3 to $4 a gallon for oil, and a tank is 275 gallons.
275
So,
gallons, and I don't know anything about it, but it sounds expensive. Kind of sounds like a generator and propane to me, right? Mm-hmm. The generator guy forgot to tell you that the propane is X and it runs out in 3 days, and and you need more propane to run your generator. So
now you don't have power again.
Yeah, now you don't have power again
because you're out of propane.
But I really got a really nice generator sitting outside.
Yep.
Right. So that happens. Because I'm fresh off a hurricane. I don't know when this is going to air, but I'm fresh off Hurricane Debbie at our house, and I mean, powers. We didn't really even talk about that too. So when you're retrofitting these systems, you're typically seeing some power give back, right, to the homeowners, especially if it's heat pump to heat pump.
So yeah, because our electric backup doesn't have to be quite as strong by any means, or even close to as strong. I still like to put electric backup in. We still see some crazy cold nights.
Yeah, you get really cold up here.
Yeah.
What's your design temp for the winter?
By code or
So we'll start there. What's the ashtray?
the guy
number
writing the
and then-
textbook? I think we're at 5 degrees, which frankly is a joke as far as I'm concerned. We see -20.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a couple nights a year, but
Right.
nobody's happy when their house is 60 degrees when they have it set at 70. And I think that's a customer change too. I mean, I think it used to be normal for people to expect that, but now they don't.
Well, that's a pretty important point right there too, Ryan. I get in conversations all the time with folks about expectations of comfort,
Yeah.
right? And I've had even my own team, we'll be at a really, really nice home, and the question will come from them, from our team. Well, if we do this, this may not be as efficient as something else that we could do, and it boils down to efficiency counts, absolutely, but comfort kind of trumps
It does.
a lot of things.
Especially with the customer base that I'm
That's what I'm
used to
talking
dealing
about,
with,
right.
honestly. Like I said, it's almost all second homes. So efficiency is great, but comfort definitely trumps efficiency. There's no
a
doubt.
lot of times. So I might have to do something that provides that comfort level that they expect, even though it may not be the most efficient solution.
Absolutely. And focusing
By that
on,
I mean adding electric heat.
Right.
Because maybe we could have done that without electric heat, but to Ryan's point, it would have been 60,
Or you would have had to oversize your system.
which we don't want to do.
Right. Put
Right.
in a much larger heat pump, and then you're
beyond even what is manufactured.
right.
I mean, we're looking at 5-ton being the max.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
one of the things that I love about how the LG system works versus some of the other unitary heat pumps is we keep that compressor running, and then you're supplementing the compressor with the
Same things in model.
electric
Exactly.
heat strips. Whereas in years past and a lot of other heat pumps, that compressor just turns off, and you're 100% on the heat strips. So guys ask me sometimes, they're like, "But I don't want to put heat strips in it. I'd rather. What should I do? Should I go up a size? Should I add a little bit of heat strips?" And every case is different, but if we can get really close with the compressor, and then those couple of nights where it gets really, it gets stupid cold, couple nights, those heat strips come on for a few hours to supplement the heating that the compressor can't do. And my answer to them is, yeah, heat strips are not very energy efficient, but the amount that we have to run them versus what you're used to thinking about a heat pump having to run the heat strips is dramatically
And the load they're
different.
handling at that point is minimal.
Right.
Yeah.
The
That's a
heat
valid
pump's taking the
point.
majority of the load.
Yeah.
Right. It's taking it, like you said, from the 60 degree to the 70. It's that boost that they want for the comfort.
So I think that
Exactly.
the word that we just use is supplemental, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that's what they should be, supplemental.
In
Not
this
pri-
application, right.
They shouldn't be primary.
a lot of times they were
are.
primary,
They're
though.
absolutely-
Absolutely. Like you said,
Absolutely.
they kick the compressor out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely primary. So no, that's a good call. So
Yeah. And I mean, our compressor's rated -13, no hard lockout. So I mean, I've
It
seen them
keeps
running.
going.
I've seen them running well below -13, but that's just where the charts stop.
Absolutely.
what's the coldest you've experienced since you've been using LG products? Remember, wind chill doesn't count.
Okay. So I would say right around -20 then.
-20.
Without wind chill, yeah.
That's cold, man.
Because
I'm going back to Georgia.
heat pumps don't feel heat wind chill.
Right.
Right.
The
They only
house
feel-
does, though.
The house does.
That's true.
Yeah, the house does.
So the heat loss
Yeah,
is-
so -20. That's pretty cold, right? That's pretty cold to think that there's a heat pump running at somebody's home
Well,
in
to think that a design temperature is 5 degrees and we see that is like I said, a little concerning too.
Yeah.
But like I said, at different times, times have changed.
Well, this market that we're in, this Northeast market of the United States, is the largest cold climate heat pump market for all manufacturers.
Right.
Right. And there's a reason, and the reason is these things work.
Yeah.
And they work well. They work really well when you have a responsible contractor who takes time to read and understand application and installation and load sizing and doing the right things, which we thank you very much for as part of the LG family, I can tell you. So,
If you design them right and you install them right, they just work.
yeah, I tell folks all the time, I mean, given an opportunity to work, guess what it does? It works.
Exactly. And the biggest thing working against it, like you said, is misapplication.
Yeah.
In my
Yeah,
opinion.
absolutely.
I mean, a lot of homes are being spec'd with just a couple of wall hung units to try to heat the houses, and it's just not. You're going to give the whole design a bad name by trying to do that.
Well,
Design is
and
important.
to your point, it has given the technology a black
Absolutely.
eye. Right?
Absolutely.
All brands, and because it was misapplied, misinstalled, right? The educational pieces weren't there.
Right.
And as a result, we fought this technology as a trade in our country for many, many years. Obviously, that's changed over the past few years with it, with the influx of premier products and a multi-position air handler from us to get into the unitary world. So different things are happening so that this technology becomes more mainstream. But again, it all is going to point back to one thing. You've got to have a local distribution partner, Meier Supply, and you got to have a contractor, Paupack heating, air conditioning, refrigeration, a whole lot of stuff. But
The list is getting longer.
yeah, it's getting longer.
We're going to put a paragraph in the back.
But you got to have these partners that care about what they're doing,
Yeah.
right? And that's when it changes.
And getting educated.
And getting
Because,
educated.
I mean, we talked about change, but air conditioning technology has changed, but so has building science. And that's made design actually get a little bit more challenging because we're getting these large square foot homes with very, very, very low load. We talked about it before we started recording, but you guys recently did a passive house and some of these other homes that are just getting such low loads that you certainly can't do it with a conventional ducted system. You've got to spread out whatever 800, 1200 CFM over 3,000 or 4,000 square feet. That's just nearly impossible to do.
Right.
But even with the design and guys that are wanting to put a mini split head in every single room of the home, they're realizing that that's a mistake. And,
big mistake.
So the education and the learning and understanding the building science and understanding, things like air transfer fans and things like that we've got to start embracing as a group, as a trade, is important. So I love that you guys are loving the education side of it, always wanting to learn. We had a different conversation earlier today about how builders just don't want to change because they don't want to stop and learn.
Right.
We've got to stop and learn.
It's our responsibility to, as a contractor and as distributors and manufacturers, and technicians, it's our responsibility to we get hired for
100%.
to be professionals of what we're doing.
It is our responsibility. And I say it's our responsibility as manufacturers to have that education piece available, and it is
It's our
your
responsibility
responsibility
to use it.
to learn.
Yeah.
And the home builder's responsibility to learn and adapt and to grow. Terry and I work with a lot of home builders, and some of them are very receptive, and some of them say, you know what, if that puts me behind schedule by 3 days to go learn about a new technology, just forget it. I'm going to do what I've been doing for 30 years. And, talk about beating your head against a wall.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Well, to me, at that point, you're just lying to your customers by acting like a professional in what you're doing. If your education is 30 years behind,
Right. Well, it's a valid statement for sure. Again, Philip mentioned that him and I and the team that I work with, we are in and talking and speaking to builders on a regular basis. And I got to tell you, their concern across the country when we talk to these is the cost of energy. Okay. And so if we're not doing things as manufacturers to change or impact the cost of electricity in a home, they're not going to be able to afford to sell houses. Everybody wants to talk affordable housing, but builders are talking about this when I'm with them at these conferences and stuff. They're saying, man, if electricity goes to 33 cents a kilowatt or goes up 35%, people can qualify for my mortgage, but they can't qualify for the electric bill.
right?
Right? And so they're looking at ways to build these homes more effectively and efficiently using inverter-driven products, right? Using air-to-water heat pumps, using these things that are available, not just windows and doors and glass. Those obviously are huge components, but figuring out how to make this home affordable from an electrical standpoint, right? Because obviously we got this huge electrical push in our country, right, to take things electric. Our grid can or cannot. That's enough of the political talk for today at the LG
But
Procast.
It also comes down to efficiency, though, too,
It
because
does.
the amp draw lower. So with the lower amp draw, higher efficiency, lower amp draw, lower load on the grid, on the system.
Absolutely. I have a builder that says that there's gonna be a push in our country, and he's a top 10 builder. By the way, this isn't the guy that's building 4 homes. He's saying that there's gonna be bulk metering at a subdivision. So the only way they're gonna be able to afford power is to buy it in a bulk and bring it to a point in the subdivision and let the subdivision HOA distribute that power to the homeowner, and the homeowners association bill you for the electric. Okay. So I mean, that's a far down the road vision,
Right.
but that's the kind of stuff that this group that Phillip and I and our team works on. That's the kind of stuff that they're talking about when they're together, right? I remember in the past, we'd go to a builder and it was all about the countertops, right? And how pretty they were and all this stuff. And right, we make some nice countertops, don't get me wrong, right? But the number one complaint when they closed the house was always what? If the plumbing wasn't leaking, the second call was always what? Comfort.
Not comfortable.
It's not comfortable in this home.
Yeah.
And so when we work collectively to educate that group, I think we're in a better position. And certainly LG is a forefront with the products and the things that we have available from a building
Absolutely.
perspective. So
Absolutely. And from the support standpoint, I mean, you guys are well above.
thank you. We appreciate that because that's not always what we hear. You know that, right? So
Well, I feel you support the contractors that, like you said, take the time to educate themselves. There's certain people that you can't support those who don't. You can't help those who don't help
I
themselves.
mean, I've certainly made a good living at this company, traveling the country and speaking. And I know this is one of the places I've had the opportunity to do that and teach a class or educate a class I call PWC, piping, wiring, and charging. And it didn't matter the brand or the technology, but just go in and help contractors such as yourself understand what happens when you pipe or wire or charge this system incorrectly. And these are the things that happen, and these are why they happen, and almost all the problems associated with the trade in the industry and this technology is around that. It's piped wrong, wired wrong, or charged wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You get that right, it works.
And you guys have the LATS program for that. The tools are there.
The tools are there. Yeah. You mentioned one of our software programs, LATS. It's an internal program. Most premier manufacturers of this technology have a similar software program. But man, if you know the load calc, which we said it over and over, you need to know the load calc because that's what you're designing these systems for. And now you have this system that has the ability to change its capacity, right, which is something that every HVAC contractor in the world has wanted forever, right? Man, I wish I had something that could blow colder in August in Florida. Well, we got one. Wish I had one that could make more heat in November in New York. Well, you got one, right?
Yep.
You got an inverter-driven compressor that changes its capacity. What more could you want? Apply it right,
All right.
install it right. Guess what?
It works.
It works.
Right.
What else? You got anything else for Ryan today?
I don't have anything else, Ryan. You got
anything
any
to share with
nuggets
us?
of wisdom?
Nothing. I've
Nothing?
got nothing off the hip.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Well, I got to tell you, Ryan, I learned a lot from you today, and I appreciate all the wisdom that you shared with us. We're going to continue to do these kind of things. We're going to bring in subject matter experts, contractor level. We're going to bring in subject matter experts like Dr. Allgood for one of our podcasts, and we're going to continue to push these things through this LG Procast to help our customers get better educated with this technology and this trade. And we're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff over the course of these podcasts. So thanks for joining us today.
Ryan, thanks again. We appreciate you being here. Anything else you want to share with us before we head out?
I appreciate you guys having me. No, I don't have anything.
Awesome.
Man, awesome. Thank you, sir. All right. From the LG Procast team, I'm Terry Frisenda. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.